TracyMac, host of Black Women's World podcast and pastor and chaplain of Peace Place Community. Listen, I'm going to talk this morning before we start our conversation. It's going to be about what's in your ripple. Now, when I first heard the word ripple, I go all the way back. I was born in 1969, so ripple, I thought it was a drink that Red Fox used to talk about on Sanford and Son. As a matter of fact, sometimes I go and look at those old episodes. They come on the platform Peacock. And one of the episodes, when they discuss ripple, they've all come back in from one of their friends' funeral, Bubba, Fred, and Aunt Esther, and they sitting around the house talking about how, this guy died. And in the process, Aunt Esther, she was the church-going woman. She didn't play with Fred or nobody else. So in this particular episode, they sitting around talking, and Bubba said, well, I don't know what happened to him. Why did he die? And somebody said they said he had a bad liver. And somebody said, well, how does your liver go bad? And Aunt Esther said, drinking all that ripple. And so Fred said, Bubba said, what do you do for your liver? And Fred said, I know what I do for my liver. I put it in flour and fry it with some onions. But that's not the kind of ripple I'm talking about today. So I want to talk about what's in your ripple. Welcome to Black Women's World, where Black women vibe and thrive together. And if you ain't a Black woman, you'll get to know at least one. Because this Black Women's World, my Black woman's world, is whatever I say it is, simply because I am. So welcome, SistaNistas and SistaNista lovers. We're here for you. Much love and peace. Good morning, everyone. I am TracyMac, host of Black Women's World podcast and pastor and chaplain of Peace Place Community. Listen, I'm going to talk this morning before we start our conversation. It's going to be about what's in your ripple. Now, when I first heard the word ripple, I go all the way back. I was born in 1969, so ripple, I thought it was a drink that Red Fox used to talk about on Sanford and Son. As a matter of fact, sometimes I go and look at those old episodes. They come on the platform Peacock. And one of the episodes, when they discuss ripple, they've all come back in from one of their friends' funeral, Bubba, Fred, and Aunt Esther, and they sitting around the house talking about how, this guy died. And in the process, Aunt Esther, she was the church-going woman. She didn't play with Fred or nobody else. So in this particular episode, they sitting around talking, and Bubba said, well, I don't know what happened to him. Why did he die? And somebody said they said he had a bad liver. And somebody said, well, how does your liver go bad? And Aunt Esther said, drinking all that ripple. And so Fred said, Bubba said, what do you do for your liver? And Fred said, I know what I do for my liver. I put it in flour and fry it with some onions. But that's not the kind of ripple I'm talking about today. So I want to talk about what's in your ripple. We just listened to the song, and I wish I could play it for you. It's so familiar around the world, not only because of the artist, but because of the message in the song, The Greatest Love of All. And the song was written, and a lot of times we overlook songwriters because we see the person performing it and we think maybe they wrote it or whatever, but that's so not true in so many cases. I mean, nowadays artists realize where the money is. The money is in the songwriting. So when you see artists perform songs and they on social media and they got millions of followers, and you see them, on television or whatever, a lot of times they don't have a lot of money because they get paid when they perform. The real money goes to the royalties every time a song is played, the songwriters, the lyricists, or sometimes the people who pen the lyrics, and then the musicians who create the score or create the music behind it. And so The Greatest Love of All. And the reason why that song was touching me, and I listened to it last night and this morning, and I know it's not the type of song we usually begin Peace Place with, but I'm even going to start opening those borders up to the type of song because it's the content. What are the lyrics saying? And the song The Greatest Love of All was written by Michael Masser and Linda Creed. And we know Whitney Houston, just that she just belted in her beautiful voice and her range and her tone and everything about it. But did you know that George Benson was the first to record the song, The Greatest Love of All? And it's advocating self-love. It starts out, I believe children are the future. And that's kind of where I want to start with what's in your ripple. I do believe children are the future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Because even in the scripture, I think it's Luke 9:48, talking about bring the children. And I want to share that with you. Matter of fact, let me find it. You can, if those of you who have a Christian Bible, whatever translation you use, I'm going to use the New Revised Standard when I do find it, because that's what I have on my phone, and that's what I believe most is consistent with the Greek and the Hebrew translations. A lot of times things got lost in translation, and I believe the Bible, the Holy Bible, the Christian Bible, may have been the first victim of critical race theory, because books were taken out. The Apocrypha was taken out. So our regular 66 books, closed canon, some people think that's all there is. And each book of the Bible was a standalone book by itself, but they decided to put a particular group of 66 together to make what we call the Holy Bible, but that's not the whole contents. There's a part called the Apocrypha that was intentionally left out, things that were translated differently. So I find, and it was shared with me, and I began to research myself, one of the most truest translations, because Jesus didn't speak Greek or Hebrew, he spoke Aramaic. So even his words, but one of the most consistent, authentic translations of the Bible is the New Revised Standard, which is published by Zondervan, which has published other versions, translations of the Bible, but this is the most true, and it contains the Apocrypha. So if you, let me make sure I have it right. I think it's in Luke 9, verse 48. Let me pull it up on my phone here. Let me just read verses. Oh, I just started verse 46. Luke chapter 9, verse 46. An argument arose among them concerning, Jesus was talking to the disciples, and an argument rose among them concerning which one of them was the greatest. But Jesus, aware of their inner thoughts, took a little child and put it by his side and said to them, whoever welcomes this child in my name welcomes me, and whoever welcomes me welcomes the one who sent me. For the greatest among all of you, for the least among all of you is the greatest. Let me repeat that. For the least among all of you is the greatest. And I've said time and time again in Peace Place and podcasts, on my social media platforms, in person, that some of the most marginalized people in the world are Black women. And I have to include children in that. And that if you do it among the least of these, is what society thinks of some of us being the least of, the forgotten, the most overlooked. And so I really began to think about, because I had a wonderful experience yesterday attending my sorority retreat. And sometimes you can get overwhelmed when you think about what's going on in the world. Not only people are searching for the answer to what is my purpose, and a lot of people have different answers to what that is. I believe your purpose are who you're here to be. Your mission is what you're here to do, because your purpose can, if you say that your purpose is what you're doing, your job, your gifts, or whatever, then if that changes, do you lose purpose? If those people that make you have that purpose, that company, those customers, that clientele, if your purpose is that, then it's going to be factored. You're going to waver your purpose on who is in your life. So I believe your purpose is who you're here to be. I believe your mission, or missions plural, because they get to change. You change jobs, you change likes, your gifts, you can intensify them by getting trainings, taking classes, so you can do. And so I believe your purpose is who you're here to be. Your mission is what you're here to do. And then you get to do it with great passion. The word passion comes from the Latin word passeo. It means to suffer, actually. And if we can compare it to the passion of the Christ, Jesus suffered for just a minute for the greater good. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. So there was a suffering, but it only lasts a little while. And if we bring it to our own lives, anything you have passion about, this bold enthusiasm, sometimes you got to go through something just a little while for that. So if you're like, I'm in seminary, so it may not be suffering, but I got to give up some things just for a little while to be able to achieve something I want to achieve. So when I began to think about the greatest love of all and doing things for the least of these, we had an opportunity. I used to volunteer much more than I do now because that mission changed in the public school system, and mainly in ESL schools where English is the second language. So immigrants come here, maybe the children don't know English. So there's a lot of barriers that you have to overcome. And not only the barrier of language, but in many cases, the barrier of poverty. So it really touched my heart because the incident that happened, or the situation that happened, was at the time I was in close collaboration with a lot of teachers, the administration, and the principal on how can we help these children. And so I knew some of them didn't have coats and shoes, and some of the girls didn't come to school because they didn't have sanitary napkins, or they weren't dressed appropriately for the weather. They didn't have the coats and so many different things. And it just touched my heart, my passion. I was angry that these children were expected to come to school to learn and didn't have the basic needs met, unless some of them qualified for free breakfast and lunch, but that was the only meal. And then what do we do for them in the summertime? So I got involved with trying to help children get a meal, at least one meal, during the summertime, whether they were delivered to the homes or whether there was a convenient location for people to pick them up and get volunteers to distribute them. So that was really one of my missions, and I still have the passion for that, but how to execute in different ways. So I started compassion boxes in some of the schools where you could we do white t-shirts of all different sizes and just whatever it took to what we could do to make a child's learning, especially like I said, overcoming the language barrier and everything else that happens in elementary school, the bullying, the teasing, the learning math, all these things that are very new to a little child. And so I was do these boxes. So I found out that my chapter was doing, they didn't label it a compassion box, but that's what I call it. But they were doing a box for one of the local schools. And so there I go, what can I do? So I go on Amazon and I order, they had a list of what could be in there, and I order by the bulk, 100 toothbrushes individually wrapped with toothpaste, body wipes, deodorant, chapstick, because I began to see myself as a little kid. And I thought about the children are the future, with Whitney Houston belting it out. What would I want? When I was a little kid, what was it? I didn't go to school hungry, but sometimes we didn't have food at home. And my parents were a little too, what's the word? Proud to apply for free. So we got reduced lunch, even though we probably would have qualified for free lunch sometimes. And so in looking at all of that, sometimes, we didn't have all the food we needed at home. I think I've shared before, if somebody hadn't left groceries on our doorstep at home, we would have went hungry. I grew up in one of the houses we lived in. It was so cold. We had icicles inside the windows, sleeping in coats. So I really have a heart for children and Black women in particular. And so in looking at all of that, sometimes you get overwhelmed when you see what the need is, and it is great. And so with this, and I'm ordering, and I'm like, okay, and the bottom of the flyer said, let's fill up the box. And I was like, I'm not only going to fill up the box, I'm gonna bring a box. I'm gonna bring boxes and boxes and whatever I can do for this project to help these children. And then my mind went to, why are they in this state? And as I began to say earlier, one of the situations was that really got me involved in that area and made it a mission for a season of my life was two little girls were sitting after school, and I had gone in for a meeting. My child was home, warm, safe, whatever. And I had gone in for a meeting about how I could help get this thing rolling. And there were two little girls still sitting outside that had not been picked up. and they didn't have coats and it was cold. And the principal said, I'm going to have to take them home, but it's not school policy. I can't do it for school policy. And I said, I'll drive because I'm not attached. And that's one reason why I've never, I've gone to school and done a lot of coaching and counseling, even in the face of a lot of school counselors not liking me to be there because my line and my waiting list was longer than theirs. But I don't want to deal with the bureaucracy. I'm going to follow your rules, but I'm not the principal. I can take anybody home I want to. And when she and I arrived, because she rode with me, when she and I arrived to the house where the little girls directed us to, it shouldn't have been, it wasn't livable, in my opinion. And when they went to go open the front door, so I thought, it wasn't like those barn doors they put down houses where you slide a door. They slid the door, but it wasn't a fancy barn door. It was a makeshift door that didn't have hinges. And they slid the door open and went in. And when I went back to drop the principal off at school, I cried in my car, seeing those two little girls go in that house. And I thought about, why are they living in these conditions? What is it? And they were not English as a second language two little girls. They were born in this country. Their parents were born in this country. And I know there's a home life. And so I was like, I can't fix the root why our government sometimes does the things it's do. Even to this day, why are we trying to take school lunches away from children? Why are we not making sure our children get the best education? Why are we trying to do away with the public schools? Some political parties and people are trying to do away with the public school and trying to make education a pay for play type thing where charter schools and private schools, they want to reroute government funding to those and give them vouchers and busing is critical. And a lot of things, I'm like, why are we doing this to the children? Not giving them that place. So when I have the opportunity to give, I get excited because to me, when we give, we are most like God. And I'm like, people say God is for me, with me, in me, but a lot of times people stray away from that as me because the first thing they'll say is, I ain't God. Well, Psalms 82 tells you are, but they're not big G, but little g, because it's my dad. Bishop Walter E. Jones used to say back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, he would go back into the lineage of the Bible and so beget so-and-so and so beget so-and-so and beget and to beget and see that bloodline. And then he would say so-and-so beget so-and-so and so-and-so. Okay, cats beget what? And the congregation would say cats. Dog beget what? And we'd say dogs. Butterflies beget butterflies. Crickets beget crickets. And he would go down this long line and have everybody in a rhythm. He said, and gods beget. And you'd kind of hear people not want to, well, there is, how else is God seen but through us, in us, and as us? God's hands. The songs available to you says, Lord, I'm available to you. My will I give to you. Use me, Lord, to show someone the way and enable me to say, and one of the verses says, I'm giving back to you all the tools you gave to me, my hands, my ears, my voice, my eyes, so you can use them as you please. Because how else will the people see God but through us? We become answered prayers. When people pray, God uses people. So we become God's hands, ears, and voice in us. So don't stray away or shy away to say, I'm going to be as God. I ain't trying to be big G, but because God's beget God's, I am imaged. I am created in his image, his likeness, in our likeness, Genesis says. So I get to be as God. So I thought about it. I said, it's so many needs in the public school system. What can I do? So when I talk about what's in the Ripple, and I alluded to the Red Fox episode, and Ripple was a drink, and I forgot to say this, an alcoholic drink, 11% alcohol, because I looked it up. Y'all know how I am. And it was very sweet. It was made by Gallo. They still make wines. And it was made from 1960 to 1984. It only cost $1 a bottle to get you right. and they stopped making it. As a matter of fact, unopened bottles of Ripple now can go as much as $200-300 because they don't make it anymore. And Gallo went on to continue to make wines. They made Thunderbird and the like. And if anybody grew up in the 80s, now I didn't mess with it, but I saw the results of it. But anyway, when I say what's in your Ripple, it gets overwhelming when you think about everything that's going on as to why people, children, Black women, women of color, live in places where marginalized, disenfranchised. You can't do it all. You'll be overwhelmed. But when I got the opportunity to contribute my Ripple, my drop into that compassion box yesterday, when I saw that this one brought this, people walked in with Food Line or Walmart bags or Target bags with their little bit and this person's little bit. And then when I saw it to the point, what we brought filled cars, plural. So you can't do it all and within your human capacity. But when you link up with other people and everybody brings their drop, we make a ripple. Now we're rippling on the end of this is the need, but we also can ripple on what's the root of this. That's what we have elections for, not just at the high level, the national level, but at a local level. Who you put in your office for school superintendent and your school board and your mayors and your congressmen and your councilmen and your senators, and your judges, your appellate court judges, every level of government. So when we think about our election season, you're not just voting at the top for the national. These things affect. Why do we have to have compassion boxes? Yeah, we know people's home lives. We can't fix sometimes the dysfunction in families, but sometimes children don't realize their families are dysfunctional until they grow up and see other families. Sometimes some of us, you don't realize the dysfunction in your family because that's all you know until you grow up and see other things. So yes, there's some things at the root, but what's causing their family not to have the money, not to have the ability to clothe and feed their children? Because I don't care how dysfunctional a family is for the most part, because I know and I believe that God is in every person. Every single person is created in God's image and likeness, that there's something there that want to do right. There's something there. There's something in a mother that wants to see her children fed and clothed, even if she's drug addicted, strung out, cracked out, whatever. There's something still in her that really wants. So sometimes we have to fight it from both ends. Fight it from the end of what's wrong with the life, what happened in the family, but also what is happening. Why people who work for minimum wage, $7-8 an hour, the statistics are there. You need to make over $100,000 on average just to pay rent in certain places. So when I think about the song, The Greatest Love of All, it starts with self-love. Like I said, it was the song that was written by Michael Masser and Linda Creed. They wrote it to advocate for self-love. George Benson recorded first, then comes Whitney Houston. When you think about the lyrics, the greatest love of all lives inside me. How much does that look like the ways of Jesus? Not just Jesus being the way, but the way Jesus is in us, the way God is in us, the greatest love of all inside of me. When we think about it's happening to me, learning to love yourself. The ripple starts with you. You got to learn to love yourself. When you learn to love yourself, you can begin to see now, who can I help? Because I love me so good. I want other people to love themselves the way, however they need to love themselves good. And if that means giving in a compassion box, starting that ripple, what is that little drop I can make in the water that creates a little ripple? And that ripple turns into a pond, and that turns into a stream, and that goes into an ocean, and then you have waves crashing. So what we did yesterday, my box and everybody else's boxes, and any other time you give and you sow into entities that are doing good in the world, then you have that little ripple, but yet we have our own unique ripples. And that's the question I want you to pose to yourself. And when we go into conversation with Peace Place, I'm going to keep the mics open, continue if you choose to disclose who you are, but if you want to keep your anonymity, this will go public, because, and it's not so much as I want to put anybody on the spot, But if you have an example of what it looks like to know what your ripple is, or when you put your drop in the bucket and it caused a ripple and an overflow, and everybody gets blessed, and nobody has to be named, and nobody's one person's trying to take the credit. When my fellow Saras, when my Saras deliver those goods to the school, or when I used to do it for the school, nobody's got you don't take pictures. I gave this to little Johnny, or I did this. You keep your anonymity and you give, and those people will never know who, but you make the world a better place. I'm a firm believer, as I begin to temper myself to close, that purpose is the key to world peace. Because if I know who I am, and if I'm solid in who I am as a human being and the God in me, then I ain't worried about you. I'm not going to fight you. I'm not going to cause you no pain. I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to take from you and steal from you. I'm not going to let greed, which in my opinion, greed is fear with money. I'm not going to let greed I'm not going to cause harm to your family. The song Hezekiah Walker, I need you to survive. I won't harm you with words from my mouth. But that comes from a place of self-love. The greatest love of all lives inside of you. And once you know that, you don't have to be perfect in it, but once you begin to know and understand what that is, then you can create a ripple. What's in your ripple? And I ain't talking about Fred Sanford and Son, but what's in your ripple? The little things. In the Bible, it says it's the little foxes that come eat up our flesh. Well, if little foxes can come eat up our flesh, then little deeds, little kind deeds are the way to begin to show love, to show compassion, to be brotherly and sisterly, and show the world what it looks like. And we get to do that through community. So Peace Place, I ain't gonna overrun the time like we did last week. But if you would like to talk, jump on quick, because we're gonna be in and out, because I got something else I got to get to by 8 o'clock. And I know many of you have things you need to do by 8. So we got a good 20 minutes or so, 25 minutes to jump in. So just jump in, and when I say what's in your ripple, if you remember Sanford and Son, I don't even care if that's your comment, because I'm telling you, that's the funniest stuff. Because as a kid, you kind of chuckle, but when you go back at somebody grown and look at Fred and Bubba and Rollo and Aunt Esther, that's some funny stuff, and it's wholesome. It's wholesome. They weren't even worried about being politically correct back then, and I love it because they got to be themselves. But what's in your ripple? What's in your ripple? So I just open the floor to Peace Place. Like I said, jump in because we ain't got time to play today. But I love you, so let me hear from you. What you want to say? Well, good morning, Peace Place.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Interesting subject this morning about being a ripple. When I think about ripple, the ripple effect that I have in different people's lives and different situations, I think about my family, think about my job, think about even people that I don't know, people that I meet, and it could be, my personality. The characteristics that they see in me, not the ones that I have to call out, but the ones that they see in me, having an impact on others and in a positive light. To me, you have you ever been around people that, wow, it's not like you want to be like them, but you are so amazed at where they're going, where they've been.
Yeah.
And it's like a wow moment. That's a ripple effect. That's caused a ripple. And not that I'm saying that I want to be like them, but what ripple do I have? What impact do I have on them? What can I do to make things better? Or either what can I do to change? Will I leave a lasting impression on them? Like when you walk in the room, oh, there she is. That's that crazy person, but just being an influence on someone. And when you think like, I'm an influence, that's that ripple. And then when you think about your skills and your knowledge and fast typing and all of that. That's a ripple, because sometimes people will look at you and what you possess, it causes a ripple, because sometimes they frown upon that. You
Mm-hmm.
when you walked in that room,
Yeah.
or you cause a ripple when you sat at your desk. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you cause a ripple and you don't even know that you caused that ripple either.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Mm-hmm.
So this is very interesting, something to make me go back and think about the ripples that I've caused in other people's lives, and
Mm-hmm.
prayerfully that they all an attempt to be positive, but we know
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you can leave a negative ripple also,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
could be a ripple that you didn't cause, but
Yeah.
it became a ripple. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, very interesting, and so one to go back and think about again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What's your ripple?
what's your
Yes. Thank you
yeah.
so much. And I love when you said sometimes there are people you look at, you're not trying to be like them, but one of my friends used to say, aspire to inspire. Sometimes we just your countenance or what you do inspires somebody else. And if you make that one of your intentions, I intentionally set my life I aspire to inspire. And that is a ripple. I love that. I love that you said that. Who else? Well, good morning, ma'am.
Good, good, good morning, Miss TracyMac, and everybody else in the Peace Place community. When you talked about the ripple, I thought about two things where I am concerned. I I look to add my drop to your drop.
Mm,
I'm not so much the one that creates the space or goes to get the box. But if I know you got a box somewhere, then I'm going to be in that box with you. So I'm always looking for the organizations like Families Together. And
mm-hmm,
there was another organization that sent Bibles to Africa. And was another organization that did something else. So I'm always looking for the individual, and I call it the power of one, where you're
mm,
calling it the ripple. What are you doing? What are you, because there are some people who just have that compassion piece, or that piece where they say, I want to do this, and they go out and get that started.
mm-hmm,
I tend to add to the box.
mm-hmm.
I'm looking for the box. I'm going to add to the box. Personally, I think my ripple is time.
Mm. Ooh, that's
Because
interesting.
because I think that sometimes people need that time and presence from you more than they need something that you can give them,
Mm,
because it helps to give them value, it helps to give them worth, it helps to give them a place to express themselves
mm-hmm,
in a way that they may not get to, and who knows what is birthed out of that.
mm-hmm.
Because I know that there's certain people, certain people that I talk to, certain people,
You got
and
you trying to clear your throat like
they,
like
they,
DJ Cool?
they that always pull something out of you.
Mm-hmm,
It's not an intentional thing. They don't set out to say today, I'm going to make sure you do thus and so and thus and so. But it is that peace, PIECE and PEACE, that
mm,
peace that puts you in a place of self-discovery when you don't even know it. And
mm,
you come away from those conversations feeling stronger, looking for the box, seeing how you can contribute. And it's kind of an organic thing.
mm-hmm,
Doesn't happen with everybody, but there are certain people that I believe that God puts in your path that have the ability to do that.
mm-hmm,
So when you talk about aspire to inspire, and I think about my ripple, I think that is the thing um, that I give, that I most enjoy giving, is to recognize the fact that this person, it's not that they need money, it's not that they need, and it's not that those things are not there. That need is not there, But in that moment, in that space, I just need you to hear me.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I need. I just need you to hear me. So I think that's an important ripple for me.
I love that. I love that because what you said kind of ties into what we talked about when we met last time. The time allows you to ask those sacred questions. How are you doing? And that space, when you hold space, when the term hold space, that's what you're doing. So, and then when you said the peace, the PIECE of peace, that peace is a drop. And then when you said, because you just always get my wheels turning. But then when you said, I may not start the box, and I think that helps us know our place, because you have leaders and then you have followers. And some people hate being followers. They don't mind it on social media though, But in life, I ain't following nobody. I ain't doing nobody. But there's a principle called first follower. And if you ever get a chance, just put it in YouTube and look up first follower. And it is this wonderful thing because first follower is second leader. And it is a wonderful concept. I don't want to do it disservice to it by trying to explain, but it will encourage anybody, because in some areas you got to know when to step up and when to step back. Some areas I don't want to lead no more. And I said earlier, when your missions change, at one time for about 7 years, my mission was to start compassion boxes. And when it wasn't in the tangible, my mission was to be a compassion box to high school students and college students. So elementary school students, it was the compassion box. With the high school and college students, I became a compassion box. And that was 7 years. Now I'm not doing that anymore. Nobody can say, "Oh, you ain't no good no more. You didn't gave up." No, that ain't my mission no more. Now I'm gonna be like Miss Hines say, I'm gonna add to your box, because I have to discipline and temper my will to help. And that, I said your name, so somebody gonna have to get that out of there. Anyway, but when we discipline our will to help, our missions change. And so I don't do all of that way anymore, but I still contribute my piece to the piece, because maybe, and I'm not going to toot my own horn because I don't know, but maybe somebody got the idea. They got the idea from when I first rippled. Right. And maybe somebody did it because they saw it done in about 4 schools that I started. And I don't know them, they don't know me, but now we got a wave hitting the ocean because I planted a t-shirt.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. You want to try again, sir?
Well, one thing when you was talking about Ripple, that carried me way back. And,
Did you have some?
I had a lot of it, but and that was the Red Fox days. But the thing I wanted to mention was the fact that I've had some clothes and things that I was going to take to Goodwill to give away. And I thought about that these are some things that I can't wear anymore, or outgrown, or they have outgrown me, one of the two. But I got to thinking, I said, why am I going to give away something that I don't want anymore? And I thought about some things that I wanted, that I thought that if I give those things, it would be more of me giving me than giving necessarily something that I didn't want anymore. I mean, I included that as well, which made an abundant. But I also included in that some things that I wanted, that I said that I wanted these things. So in giving these things, I felt that I was giving more of me. And giving the things that I wanted. So, and the thing of it is, I enjoyed it. I really did. I enjoyed it because I felt I was giving more of me away than giving something away that I didn't necessarily need or want. I mean, that was enjoyable too. But just thinking about giving away something that I wanted,
I absolutely love it. I'm tearing up. Y'all know I'm just a little water bag. because I absolutely love that not when you do give to Goodwill, it's stuff you discard. But if you put some pieces in there that you really want because somebody else could really want it, that to me is one of the most self-actualized or proof of self-actualization, that you know yourself that well. Because remember the song, y'all, well, we used to sing it a cappella. What shall I render? Tell me what. We used to do it in, real thunderous choir. Well, what shall I render? What can I give? Sometimes you just get so, and I know this person that just talk gets so, what can I give? What can I do? What can I do? It's almost like, because you know what it feels like. It's like it gives you this superhero, what can I do? And nobody has to know, but what can I do? And then Fred Hammond, in one of his songs, he says, what can I give in exchange for the love you showed me every day? My very life does not seem like enough, but I'll gladly give to you, and I'll throw in all my love. I know that ain't like Fred, but I thought, what can I give? What can I give? It's like I look for stuff, and I so appreciate that. And that made a ripple in me, because I got a bag sitting right in my bedroom right now with about 10 dresses, slacks, shoes that I'm giving, but I'm going to go in my closet, because those are things I just don't use, or I got my I'm going to go in my closet today, and I'm going to give away another pair of shoes and at least a couple of other pieces that I want to give to somebody else. And man, you all right with me for a long time. You all right with me for a long time. I love it. Appreciate you for that. That's a ripple. Maybe because you had a whole lot of the other ripple, maybe that's why you ripple so good now.
Well, I had some Thunderbird too, so
Wild Irish
but
Rose.
we're going way back. But the thing of it is it's the now. It's living in the now.
Yes.
And that's where Peace Place always make me mindful of the now. So I enjoy it, and I love living in the now right now.
And I'm glad you're in the now too. I am so glad. Thank you so much. That was so special for me. Thank you so much. Next, sir, I see you unmuted.
When I think about what's in a ripple, what's in my ripple, I think from a perspective from advocacy, in the space upon which I do work in, for the most part, is a great area of advocacy. And I like to think of the word, when I think of what's in a ripple, as a best practice, right? Because in traveling to different entities as part of my professional duties, I find and look for best practices that are great and it's going to spread to other locations. That's going to help in their systems to improve them. Same thing applies in life. You find different things that may occur that you feel is a great help to somebody else. And so you kind of use those tools. And I'm grateful to be in a position where I am able to do that, for a larger scale of people that will benefit from those different best practices. Of course, are protecting their aspects of their health, privacy, and things of that nature. And I travel from place to place, and I'm considered to be a subject matter expert. So therefore, as a subject matter expert, I have to bring and share, those different things that will encourage those that are in the same line of work that I'm in, as well as the teams that I have to help oversee, in those different aspects, whether it's for leaders or even to the smallest of the team members in a unit. So just not disclosing a whole lot of that aspect of it. It is very vast, and the bodies of people that are impacted is upwards of 200,000 plus. So, doing those kinds of things, it's great to have that opportunity. Now, on the private side of things, yes, goodwill is my friend. I have this thing that I always believe in is that if I haven't seen you, warned you, or dealt with you in a year or two or
You
two and a half,
talking, you talk to your clothes like they people.
yes, I said, sorry, but you gotta go, and I do this thing called unconscious. I said, if I don't need it, somebody out there needs this.
Uh-huh.
So therefore, I have no problems releasing it to them and
Uh-huh.
knowing they will enjoy it because
Uh-huh.
by which the spirit that it comes from is full of joy and giving. So hopefully, it'll put them in a posture of philanthropy type behavior as well by the
Mm-hmm.
spirit. And of
Mm-hmm.
course, that's reaching, but nonetheless, hey, they'll have something warm in their body that's not tethered in any way, but yet
Mm-hmm.
something that is quality that they
Mm-hmm.
often with pride for. Because trust, I've done it before. I've gone to Goodwill. My daughter taught me that. So
Mm-hmm.
I've done some things, but nonetheless, it's a great place to be.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. I love when you talked about that one thing, one ripple touches another. It reminds me back in the day before platforms, before the Netflix and Peacock and Hulu and Apple TV and all those kind of things, they used to, it was a big thing if people's shows went into syndication, where it was simulcast. So they would record one show and it could hit several networks, or across the time zones. It would hit, East Coast, West Coast, or whatever. So it used to be shows were just local. But in the world of when syndication happened and all that, now you ain't got to worry about it. Anybody can throw something on, especially Tubi. I don't subscribe to Tubi or watch Tubi because of the parent company of Tubi. But anyway, that's a whole nother thing. If you like it, that's on you. Great, enjoy yourself. But one thing I learned based on what he was just talking about, simulcast is you record one time and it goes a lot of places. Back in the 90s, there were classes about how to multitask, how to do one thing, how to do several things at one time. That never did set well with me. So when I started my company and things began, and I began to train people to do what I do, I taught them simultasking. So you have simulcasting, that's television, one time it's spread out. You have multitasking, doing several things at one time. I began to teach simultasking, doing one thing that touches several different areas. So that ripple is the perfect example of that. When he just said, pulling in different things he does that doesn't affect just what he does or the immediate people he's with, but that end up affecting everybody. But you only did one thing. Taking a box of chapstick, I included it because I remember when I was in school in the wintertime, I didn't like my lips chapped, but they don't want you to be grown to put on. But just some chapstick. So I put that in the box, going back to what the other gentleman just said about what would you want? Being able to say, what would I want if I was sitting in elementary school and did not have? I'd want my breath, because my breath to be smelling good, because y'all know, I know, and I can speak from a Black perspective, and I went to 13 different schools as a military kid. All they got to do, you got one thing wrong one time and they going to label you that. Your breath stink one time, you musty one time, and they gonna, oh, that's the girl who musty. They don't know your name. And that never happened to me because I saw, you better be clean and neat. So I bought deodorant. With these children, the hormones they change earlier in kids. I said, what the basic need? Hair, combs and brushes. Just that there were other things. I didn't get everything on the list because that wasn't my ripple. There were wipes, like Lysol wipes. I bought the body wipes. I just thought about that child sitting in the chair, but they had so many other things on that list. But I just went head to toe. I want my hair to be right. I want my face to be clean. I want my breath to smell good. I don't want to be musty, because you know how children are. So I just thank all of you for your contributions to what's in the ripple. I know in this community, we ripple real good. We ripple real good together. We ripple good individually in our spaces. Families Together was mentioned here. That's one of the places I still give to. I used to be on the board for several years, but that mission ended. but I'm still involved, especially from a financial perspective, contributing to Families Together. There are other people on the board now who can do that. So remember, when you start that ripple, you don't have to keep rippling the same way all the time. But whatever you start, know that that ripple will continue into a wave. And we get to hit it sometimes from both ends, whether it be from that side of the surface of attending to that immediate need, or like I said earlier, getting involved in our political and our judicial systems and our financial systems to help people not maybe have to have so many needs. And we can hit it at both ends and ripple together, baby. But anyway, I love y'all. I'm grateful, and I love y'all for real. I'm TracyMac. Much love and peace.
Peace Place for Me, a virtual connection where the contagious love of God abides and thrives. We are an inclusive community, purposed to enhance and expand spiritual and holistic growth to advance the kingdom of God. We get to enjoy life more abundantly in peace. You are welcome to join Pastor and Chaplain TracyMac in this virtual, interfaith, inclusive, and purpose-filled community. For access to join our virtual meetings on the second and fourth Sundays at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, email us at peace@blackwomensworld.com. That is, peace@blackwomensworld.com. Or visit our website at peaceplaceforme.com. We look forward to seeing you.
You've been listening to Black Women's World Podcast, the BWWP, brought to you in part by TracyMac Solutions for Life Institute, coaching and training services. No doubt you have enjoyed being in our world, and it doesn't have to stop here. Head on over to blackwomensworld.com. This is my personal invitation to you to stay connected with me on social media and more. I'd love to see you there, and I'm so grateful you came to be with me here. Invite someone else to join you in our queendom next time so they can feel the vibe of our tribe of SistaNistas and SistaNista lovers too. Remember to be kind, be authentic, be generous, be excellent, be grateful, and while you're at it, go ahead and be extraordinary, because that's just what SistaNistas do, on purpose through mission with passion and compassion. It's a Black woman's world, baby, and you, my SistaNista, are proof. I'm your self-discovery companion, your professional peacemaker, and your host, TracyMac. Wherever you are in the world, may you love and be loved by somebody. Peace.